The fighting game genre is the only video game genre that I can think of that is way behind the times. I love fighting games, but the genre itself has not been kind to gamers, and I dare say it never really grew or made milestones. Not until recently. Fighting games were first made as sports-type games. You had karate, judo, and boxing, and it mostly had a point-based system. Games such as Yi Kung Fu and the original Street Fighter eventually introduced a stamina and health bar. Those games were alright for the time, but it wasn't until Street Fighter 2 did the genre solidify into a truly captivating experience. Street Fighter 2 was a game changer. Colourful, detailed 2D sprites, lively backgrounds with moving characters, player first player action and multiple characters to choose from, all with their own fighting styles and special moves that would come out if you pressed certain inputs in the correct order. These all became staples of the genre and defined mostly all fighting games, and yet it took 30 freaking years later to change it. It took 30 years. But let's go back a bit and look at the other video games. Seeing other genres grow and become easier to play and understand while fighting games fell behind was frustrating to me. Looking at Doom and Wolfenstein that birthed the first-person shooter games, and now we have Halo, Modern Warfare, and even Overwatch, hero shooters and battle royales that was first introduced in Quake, giving us a tournament shootout setting, evolved into games such as Apex Legends and Overwatch. Eventually, the twin stick method of controls was introduced, where one stick was to move the character and the other moves the camera and aiming reticle. The back side buttons on the controller, being triggers, became a staple in first-person shooters, making it become more homogenized, easier to pick up and play. The third-person shooter was a genre that many played, and thanks to Resident Evil 4's over-the-shoulder camera, the genre quickly took inspiration from it and became the standard. Fighting games were very simple back in the early 90s. Some games didn't even have a training or practice mode, only having versus and arcade CPU battle. But things got difficult for the average player. The more better they got at fighting games, the more the developers added new things. Games such as Tekken, Virtua Fighter, and the original Street Fighter 2 never had meters, parries, or X moves. You picked up, pressed buttons, and the characters hit each other like some kind of Punch and Judy play. With the advent of 3D polygonal games, we entered a new world. The fighting game genre hit a boom and was big in the 90s with games such as King of Fighters and Mortal Kombat. However, 3D games added something dynamic to the genre, space and full movement of the surroundings. Virtua Fighter and especially Tekken 3 made their mark and added full 3D realism to the genre. Then the 2D fighting games added X moves and super attacks. Then the genre sadly faded away in the early 2000s because it didn't change or improved itself. With every sequel or installment, developers would add more things, new characters, new moves, expansion of mechanics and modes. It was a great thing to see that you can do more super moves, more combos, more hitting buttons. And that was also a bad thing as well. With each installment adding more mechanics, only the die-hard fans would love it, driving away newer players as they seen it to be too complicated. In a way, the sequels were basically just add-ons to the already established video game, so the genre itself actually became dried up, not getting any newcomers. With too many things to learn, Tekken 6 having like 200 moves for each character, multiple combination of buttons, some games having 40 characters or even over 80 characters if it's a platform fighter or 3D arena fighting game. For new players, it was difficult. Not easy to learn and hard to swallow. This was off-putting and no game developer improved on this. They just kept adding bells and whistles to each numbered game. Now in the early 2000s I got into Guilty Gear because I got tired of all the Street Fighter clones and what Capcom was churning out. Yeah, I know, shocker, right? When I found out Guilty Gear had an instant kill move, it blew me away. When I found out its second installment, Guilty Gear XX, had a shield called Faultless Defense, I was excited. It even had a one-time only combo breaker called a Burst, so you can stop your opponent from mercilessly beating you, giving you a chance to keep playing. To use it again, you had to wait until the burst meter was full again. I quickly asked myself, why is this different to Capcom's fighting games? All I seen on Capcom back then was they milked the franchises, only adding tagging to their already 2D fighters. Yes, you had Marvel and there was new mechanics and new systems, but even then, they just rehashed the same characters. Ryu. I mean, how many times did Ryu appear in a fighting game? Or Akuma, or Chun-Li. You know what I mean? Guilty Gear XX made me happy for the genre. I could see a future, different ways to play, unique characters with weapons. But sadly that was not the case, as we were still in the dark ages, and game creators kept adding new mechanics to already established video game franchises. Street Fighter 4 came out with its 2.5D art style. It made 2D fighters look cinematic. Guilty Gear Xrd took that and gave us a game that looked like one of the best anime shows you ever seen. Graphically, 2D fighting games began to improve, thanks to this. When auto combos finally got introduced, a system where bashing one button repeatedly would give you high damaging combination of attacks. The genre finally began to change when we began to see easy inputs at the end of the 2010s. Now, in 2023, Street Fighter 6 introduced a brand new control configuration where moves became easier to do. No longer did you have to get blisters to practice your Hadokens. No longer did you have to remember codes as you combo the heck out of another player. With a press of a button, you can do a comeback cinematic super. Pressing two buttons together, you can do a cool flashy attack. This would create a problem with the hardcore players. You see, one of the core reasons why people love fighting games is hard to execute moves. But with practice, time, and patience, and hard work, that hard to do move or impossible combo you couldn't do when you was a beginner would then be so easy and second nature once you mastered it. With long combos and flashy moves giving more damage, the better you were at executing these moves, the easier it is to win. And so an important factor comes in: balance. Some games such as Tekken 7, Guilty Gear Xrd, and Street Fighter 6 allows us to do easy automatic controls. However, it wouldn't give you the highest damage or the best combo. You'd have to learn and practice those if you want to master them. I and many others have no problem with this. In recent games, they've made controls easier by default, such as Dragon Ball Xenoverse, DNF Duel, and Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, lowering the skill ceiling and giving players less time to master the game. With this, like even the playing field, anyone can do the super powerful attacks. But I have no problem with this. I always feel the better player will always win. Yes, the execution is gone, but execution shouldn't be the be-all and end-all of fighting games. After all, it is a game. How you play, how you use the moves, blocking attacks, countering, using movement, all these should be key. The easier a fighting game is, the harder it is to be good at, because so many players can now do the good stuff, and dare I say, they can be a pro. But a pro player isn't defined by that execution. Yes, pro players do have execution and they have great reflexes. But I've seen many players who can do extreme impossible to do combos but lack spatial awareness and don't know how to punish. I for one welcome easier, more homogenized controls in fighting games. Although slightly tweaked and different depending on the game and style of it. I really enjoy playing Dragon Ball FighterZ, Melty Blood type Lumina. I enjoy Tekken 7's limb system of attacks and one-button macros. The easier it is for players to pick up and play, the better. Fighting games now are using better tutorials, moves lists that tell us what exactly a move does, and how to use it in a certain situation, accompanied with video footage. On-screen information telling us if we punished or got countered allows us to understand greatly. More games need to be like Street Fighter 6 and Guilty Gear Strive. Admittedly, not quite like Guilty Gear Strive, if you get what I mean. Like, that's a bit too button mashy and like, oh, just, yeah, not quite like that. But that easy to play, hard to master. Yes, we already have our older games with hard to do inputs, and I don't think they'll be going away anytime soon. For the hardcore, they will always be there, and I do feel we'll come out with hard to do inputs like King of Fighters. We'll get that. But we just need a different type of game. We just need the genre to be a little bit more, have a mix of things. I believe a mix of both is in order. Have auto combos, but more intricate stuff should be allowed if you pressed different button sequences. Have easy to do moves, but make the combos difficult. Fighting games now should have more variety and different types of controls and ways to play, not just mentioning the accessibility for disabled players, so they too can enjoy and have fun playing a fighting game. So tell me what you think. Is this a good thing? Do you hate it? Are you a purist, like a real hardcore player who like trains and like, goes in training mode and learns everything? Or do you enjoy to easily switch a game on and play it casually without requiring to learn X amount of things? Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and share it if you may. And if you are interested and new to my channel, please subscribe if my content is something you're interested in. Anyway, thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.